Mike stood in front of the glass display case, looking at the collection of firearms. The case was made up of 4 cabinets, smoothly connected and well lit to display more than 100 handguns. The .22 caliber pistols were at the far left, with magazine-fed versions and 6-shot revolvers used by target shooters. One was less than 2 inches long, while another stretched to a full foot. Mike imagined the devastation a small lead projectile could cause. He advanced to the right and came across 3 .25 caliber handguns arranged neatly in a row. One was chrome. Each time, Mike evaluated the power of these guns and determined they lacked the killing force he needed unless used at close range. Continuing, he reached the .32 and .38 caliber firearms. One was made of stainless steel and the other was black, small enough to fit into a pocket. All 3 relied on magazines holding 5 bullets each. When Mike eventually arrived at the EO firearms he thought would help him achieve his goal, he remembered that police had once preferred .38s for their stopping power, which demonstrated their deadly potential. He then turned his focus to 15 distinct 9mm handguns, including revolvers and magazine-fed versions. They were larger than the .38s, less discreet but undoubtedly powerful. Beneath brown and black leather holsters waiting for shoulder and waist. Carriers. The majority of the guns had blue steel finishes, although some were chrome, and a few had a flat black look. Mike reminisced about his time in the Air Force, stationed in Germany, where he last handled a firearm. He recalled brushing up on the topic and noticed a distinctive .44 Magnum with a long barrel, reminiscent of Dirty Harry. Alongside it were a .357 Magnum and an antique .40 caliber revolver in a Western style. He determined these weapons were more for intimidation than accuracy. Finally, Mike chose a 9mm. The 9mm itself had cost $850, but the bill would go to the unsuspecting person whose name and address were on the ID he was using. Driving to a Hilton downtown, Mike returned to his rented Lexus 10 minutes later, having paid for the gun with a credit card bearing the same name as the driving license he had shown. Both had been purchased for $200 from a man in East LA. At a different Hilton in town, Mike registered using another credit card and requested room 921, but he was much more interested in the occupants of room 821. The next day, after resting, he went downstairs for dinner. His appearance had changed. A 4-day stubble altered his face structure, his hair was slightly longer than his usual professional cut, and it had a noticeably grayer tint. Mike half-heartedly watched a basketball game before calling room 821 on a house phone. Without receiving a response, Mike started working. From his suitcase, he pulled out a vacuum and carefully drilled a tiny hole, 9mm wide, through his floor and into the ceiling of room 821 below. He had meticulously studied the floor plans, and the hole was precisely 12 inches back from the bathroom sink. Anyone standing there would be directly beneath it. The debris from the drilling fell onto the rug, which housekeeping would likely vacuum before the room was used again. Mike positioned a small camera over the hole and turned on the monitor. The bathroom below looked exactly as he had imagined. A motion sensor connected to the monitor alerted him whenever someone entered the space below. Later that evening, a red light on the monitor indicated activity. Mike crept into his bathroom and saw a man standing at the sink, shaving and brushing his teeth. A woman then entered and kissed him. They were both laughing and stood there for more than 3 minutes. 3 years earlier, Shane and his wife had met at an Orlando convention. By the end of the event, Monica, a product representative for a software company, had completely won Shane over. She quit her job to work for him a year later, and they were married. Since then, Monica had undergone cosmetic surgery and was often seen holding Shane's arm, playing the perfect wife whenever it suited the PR team. However, 2 weekends ago, while waiting for a business meeting at a hotel in Orange County, Mike had seen something that shattered this facade. Shortly after Mike spotted Monica walking into the lobby, Paul, Shane's business partner, joined her. The two went to the front desk to check in and took the elevator to the 6th floor. Mike, having access to the hotel's reservation system during his meeting, conducted a quick search. It revealed that Monica Samuels had checked in, but Paul Samuels had not. Upon further investigation, he found that they had been meeting at different hotels 2 or 3 times a week for the past month. Mike debated whether to tell Shane over dinner. Shane's response was chilling. If I were in his position, I wouldn't divorce her. I'd want her dead. Mike decided to keep the information to himself that night. Before leaving the hotel, he carefully covered his tracks by scattering a small packet of powdered material throughout the room, ensuring that there were traces of DNA from over 20 people. Next, he placed 10 collections of short hairs that he had obtained from discarded vacuum bags collected from various medical facilities. In order to avoid any pattern identification, he changed clothes in various restrooms during this time. On Friday, he leased a new vehicle and drove to the gun store to pick up a 9mm handgun he had purchased under a false identity. Jack Williams of Canoga Park. The shop was nearly 80 miles from the Hilton Hotel. By the time he checked into room 921, it was early enough for the housekeeping staff to have finished cleaning the 8th floor, leaving no visible signs of his earlier activities. Wasting no time, he repeated the precise actions he had practiced earlier, drilling a small hole in the ceiling above room 821. He observed as a cleaning staff member meticulously vacuumed and wiped down every surface, clearing away any remaining particles. Satisfied, he prepared for the next phase. Positioning himself. In the lobby, Mike found a secluded spot behind a cluster of plants with a clear view of the registration desk. He concealed a tiny video camera within the plants, connecting it to his laptop for surveillance. As a precaution, he opened a spreadsheet on the computer to maintain the illusion of working, should anyone approach. Around 5:10 p.m., he observed his brother's business partner, Paul, arriving with Monica, his brother's wife. Monica clung to Paul's arm in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. The two carried only a single small suitcase as they checked in. Once they disappeared into the elevator, Mike returned to his room. From there, he called his brother Shane. The familiar greeting started informally. "Hey Shane, it's me, Mike," he said. "I just wanted to let you know I'll be out of town for a week. I've got a consulting gig in Chicago. I'm about to head out in 30 minutes, so I'll call when I get there." Shane sighed. "Things aren't going great on my end. I think Monica's been cheating, but I don't have any solid proof or know who she's with." Mike pretended to be surprised. "Wow, do you have any idea? Anyone in mind?" Shane hesitated. "No, just a gut feeling. She said she's at an Orange County charity function tonight," Mike replied. "You know it wouldn't hurt to call Pete. He's that PI, right? Maybe he could look into it for you. Do you still have his number?" Shane agreed and recalled Pete's number. Mike ended the conversation soon after, feeling the pieces of his plan falling into place. As the evening progressed, Mike used his hidden camera to observe Monica and Paul. When the time was right, Mike replaced the camera with the handgun. Ensuring no gunshot residue would touch him, he aimed precisely and fired 2 shots in quick succession. The sound was startling, but Mike remained calm, resisting the urge to check his work. Quickly, he disassembled the setup and packed his gear, leaving nothing behind except the plastic sheet that had captured the residue. Monica entered first, completely nude, her flawless appearance a reminder of why Shane had been drawn to her. Mike left the hotel unnoticed, blending into the crowd in the elevator. By late morning, the news broke. Paul Samuels had been shot and killed, and the woman he was with was gravely injured. From the road, Mike called Shane. "Shane, Paul Samuels? Was that your Paul Samuels? I just heard it on the news." Shane's voice was emotionless. "Yeah, it was him. They said a woman was with him." "Do you know who it was?" Mike asked. After a pause, Shane admitted, "It was Monica. They were in a hotel bathroom together when someone shot them. The police think it was a professional hit." "I'm so sorry, Shane," Mike said. In the days that followed, the truth about Paul's dealings surfaced. It became clear he had been embezzling from Shane's business for over a year and was deeply in debt to loan sharks. "I'll head back as soon as I can," Mike offered. "Don't," Shane replied. "I haven't gone to the hospital yet. Still trying to wrap my head around it." "Don't go alone," Mike cautioned. "You shouldn't drive in this state." Monica survived but was left with disfiguring scars and the loss of one breast due to her injuries. The authorities were never able to solve the case. Monica didn't argue when Shane filed for divorce. She moved into a small flat that Shane financed until the divorce was finalized. Years later, while on a fishing trip, Shane surprised Mike with a cryptic statement about how well everything had gone, though he never clarified if he was referring to the fish or the meticulously planned events. Their unspoken understanding was undeniable. As they say, blood runs thicker than water.